Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Coffee, Community, and Cocktails. I'm your host, Angela McFarland. I'm really honored to be sitting here today with members of the Pink Sister tribe. They are breast cancer survivors, and they are true warriors, and they are all participants in our Wednesday Kindness Project. I've known Betty for 2 years now. This is Betty Clarke. She's also the recipient of our Humanitarian of the Year award, which we'll get into a little bit more about that later. Right here, we have Becky Loney, and I've known Becky for 3 weeks, right? Yeah. So she came in for Kindness Wednesday with Betty, and we hit it off, and she came back again. And then I've known Krista for, it'll be a week tomorrow. I'm really good at turning these people into guests on the show. And, you know, after everybody left during Kindness Wednesday last week, we were just sitting here having just a very frank conversation. And I was asking probably some personal questions as a woman who has not experienced breast cancer. And they all have, and their stories are very similar, but also very different. And I thought, you know what, this is an interesting conversation, and this is something that I wanted to share with everybody else, because I think there's a lot of misinformation. I think there's a lot, you know, everybody knows somebody who has been diagnosed with some form of cancer, right? It's inevitable. But I don't know if anybody has actually sat down and had a conversation. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. And, you know, we talked about all kinds of things, and I don't know if we'll get into all of that, but there were some interesting, you know, conversations. But because this is Coffee, Community, and Cocktails, and it's 4:00 in the afternoon, we're all having some rosé. So I'm going to, and we're also cheering Becky because tomorrow, Becky, do you want to tell everybody what tomorrow is for you?
Tomorrow is my final treatment of 18 treatments. I started last year, March 23rd, and tomorrow, March 20th, will be my last one.
That's amazing. So, and of course, my son is FaceTiming me. This will be funny. Let's see what he wants. Apparently, nobody told him not to call me. Jacob, what can I do for you?
You didn't order anything yet?
I did, but I'm in the middle of recording a podcast. So can I call you later, please? Yes. Can I call you later?
Yes.
Okay, bye. Pancake emergency. So, all right. Well, let's start with you, Betty. Tell us your story. You are a 2-time cancer survivor.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that.
So back in 2013, my sister was diagnosed with kidney cancer
Okay.
in April, and I just happened to have a mammogram.
Now, is this your sister that is currently metastatic? Okay.
So I had a mammogram. I got called back. Said they saw something. They were going to watch it for 6 months. I didn't have time to worry about it because my sister had cancer.
Right.
So I just waited 6 months and forgot to tell everybody that I had to wait to get rechecked in 6 months, and everybody was mad. But then I go in October and I have another mammogram and they find something.
Okay.
So November 11th, I went to the surgeon and found out that I had breast cancer and that I was going to need surgery and chemo and radiation.
And was it in both breasts?
No. So it was early stage breast cancer. It was found on the mammogram. I didn't feel the lump. And I finished treatment in May of 2014. Fast forward 5 years, minus 2 weeks, and I got diagnosed a second time with breast cancer in the opposite breast.
And 5 years, that's sort of the benchmark, right?
That is. When they do statistics, they're talking about a 5-year survival rate. So the interesting thing was I was on medication for the type of cancer that I had. So people think when you get diagnosed with breast cancer, and you don't know until you know, but there's all kinds of different kinds of breast cancer.
Right.
There's different attributes of the breast cancer. There's different sized tumors. Everyone's treatment is similar in certain ways, but it's very different in a lot of ways. So every person is individual. Their treatment is different. It's what they're going through is different and similar at the same time.
Sure, sure.
So I was diagnosed a second time with a new primary. It wasn't a reoccurrence. So I went through surgery and chemo again, and I had surgery and then chemo.
So your first battle with it, you did not have a double mastectomy.
No.
Okay. Had you had a double mastectomy the first time, you would not have gotten it the second time?
Maybe not. It's when they tell you have early stage breast cancer, they're basing it all on statistics. So they think they got it all,
right?
But they don't.
They don't.
There's a lot of women. I think what's the percentage? 30% of women that have early stage breast cancer get re-diagnosed later in life. There could be a cancer cell floating around. So that's why we go to the oncologist every 6 months, and then you finally get graduated to a year, but you still go to the oncologist.
Right.
You're just more. You have to be diligent. You have to be your own advocate and really be on top of your health.
So that was 2019 when you got re-diagnosed, right?
So I'm coming up upon 5 years again, and now I'm going to be tested to see if I need to stay on the medication that I'm on.
And one of the medications that you're on caused you to have a cardiac event? Or
that was the first time. One of the treatments for my type of cancer, the first time I had cancer.
So it's not bad enough that you were diagnosed with breast cancer. You had to have a heart attack on top of it.
And I ended up with a stent between chemo and radiation.
Okay.
So it's, some of the treatments are very cardiotoxic. I just happen to be one of those lucky people that has a lot of genetic factors working against me. Everyone in my family's got cardiac history. So
did your mother have?
My mom had cardiac disease. Both my brothers, my father, all my father's siblings, all my mother's siblings.
Any breast cancer in your family?
First cousins.
All of them?
No, just a couple. There was two.
But not your mom or anything like that. How about you, Becky?
I was diagnosed last February 22nd. I got the results through my chart, actually, because I just obsessively kept checking and didn't want to wait.
It was after a routine mammogram?
I had a routine mammogram 5 months before, and they just categorized it as dense breast tissue, come back in 6 months. So it was almost to the 6-month point where my husband and I were actually sitting, and he said, you had a mammogram not that long ago, right? I thought I felt something last night. So he pointed it out to me. I could feel it. And then I immediately contacted my primary doctor. She felt 2 spots. And it turns out that those were connected by a larger mass deeper in the tissue, a 4-centimeter mass that was not seen on the mammogram 5 months before. So I, like Betty, went through TCHP. My cancer was triple positive, which means it was fed by hormones, estrogen and estrogen and progesterone. And then it was HER2 positive, which is a protein.
So, okay. So I kind of want to dig into that because I have been around Betty enough when she has spoken about this to other people. And it's always funny to me that people come in here and somehow Betty identifies with them in some way. Like there's been multiple people that have either been recently diagnosed or are in the process, and you're like the boob whisperer or something. But
I like that.
When you say it was fed by, meaning that's what caused the cancer?
The cancer, my type of cancer, estrogen and progesterone and the HER2 protein were all making it stronger.
Okay.
So they had my type of cancer, but some people are triple negative and they don't really know what exactly is feeding their cancer.
Did they detect that through a blood
biopsy
work or biopsy?
The biopsy. So I, of course, read the biopsy and I saw the words invasive ductal carcinoma, and I knew carcinoma was cancer.
Sure.
But I still was like, okay, well, it didn't really feel real for a long time, and it didn't feel scary to me.
Because you had no symptoms, correct?
No, that's the thing.
You had no inflammation,
fine.
nothing.
No, nothing. I felt completely fine. But then after diagnosis, then you convince yourself that it's everywhere because
right.
they do a brain scan, a bone scan, a chest, abdomen,
Right.
pelvic, and I didn't feel sick at all. So who knows where else they're going to find it.
Right.
But then thankfully everything was coming back looking clear. And yeah, my surgeon from the first time we met with him, he said, if this were 20 years ago, HER2 positive would have been a pretty bad diagnosis. He said, but we know exactly how to treat it. And my oncologist from the beginning just told me, keep telling your girls, you're going to be fine because you are.
Okay.
And I think just knowing that
it's a lot about mindset,
yes,
right?
And I think that helped me to believe that I was going to be fine. And so it just has been like, okay, a year from now we'll be on the other side of this.
But I think too, 20 years ago, research was not like it is now.
Mm-hmm.
What
Right.
they know
Right.
was different.
Mm-hmm.
So, 20 years ago when somebody said they had breast cancer, it was automatically a death sentence.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But now there's people that, and then you think that when they've reached 5-10 years of living with it, that they've defied the odds. But it's just, there are certain types of cancer that you can live with. They will eventually, your lifespan will deteriorate, but that it's not as quickly as we once thought sometimes, right?
There's a really good movie about her too, about Herceptin, how they discovered Herceptin. It's called Living Proof
Oh, I
with
have to
Harry
watch it.
Connick Jr.
Oh,
It's
really?
really good.
You had me
movie.
at Harry
I
Connick
love
Jr.
you, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
I'll watch that.
You
Yeah, it's
had
a
me
good
right
movie.
there.
Now you have daughters.
I have 3 girls. Mm-hmm.
So what is the level of concern for you? And did it come in your family?
No, I have a cousin. She's not even my first cousin. She's my mom's aunt's daughter. My mom's cousin. I don't know what that makes her to me, but she had breast
A
cancer.
cousin of some kind. I don't know how many
Exactly. And
removed.
my mom would
Never
know
understood
that's
that.
like first, whatever. But she had breast cancer and has been a survivor for years, but no one else. So I had the genetic testing done. Mostly because I have sisters
Sure.
and my 3 girls.
Sure.
And of the 47 markers that they tested, they were all negative. So it's just one of those, random.
My sister had early stage breast cancer in 2021, and we both tested negative for the genes. So,
Wow.
and now she's metastatic.
Now she's metastatic, and she's got
it's
all
in
over,
her,
right?
and it's isolated to her bones right now.
And Krista, how about you?
So I guess I'm similar to both of you in the sense that I found something and was told, hold off, it's probably nothing.
You found it just during a
I
routine
found it
check?
just during a routine check, like
Yeah.
in the shower, and I was told, like, hold off, we don't think it's anything, we'll just kind of watch it a little bit. But I was very persistent because I, at the same time, was having other family members who were sick with different scenarios.
Okay.
So I was very persistent and went. And then that was early September that happened. And then by the end of September, I had a biopsy, and it came back inconclusive, of course. So then you go back again and they do more, and it came back that it was ductal carcinoma.
Okay. And that's what yours was?
Yes.
And mine.
And yours,
Yes.
okay.
And then on November 14th of 2013.
It's interesting to me that all 3 of you know the
At
exact
the
date.
same time.
Yeah.
You don't forget the dates.
You don't forget the dates. You don't. I
Yeah.
know that the call to say that it had come back showing cancer was September 29th, which is my niece's birthday, which is so terrible because I would love
That's
to
what
just
you-
associate
yeah.
it with that, but instead
Yeah.
I think of the other thing.
Sure.
And then November 14th, 2013, I decided to have a double mastectomy because
2013.
2013.
Okay.
Yes, I decided to have a double mastectomy because they said it was very early stage. I didn't really have big boobs to begin with, so I was like, all right, whatever. They don't. It's not like they add any bonus or anything here, guys. I don't want them to kill me, so I'll
Yeah.
just kind of. So I went in and had a double mastectomy, and then when I came out of surgery 8 hours later, they had informed my family that it was more invasive than they thought, so they then
Wow.
upped it to like almost stage 2. Mine was estrogen and progesterone positive. I do not
Okay.
have the extra HER2 or anything like that. So immediate was, okay, you went aggressive to do the double mastectomy. We don't need to do chemo and radiation
Okay.
because there's nothing to radiate. And chemo, you have a 7% chance of a reoccurrence and your ANCA level is very low.
What is an ANCA? I've heard you use that
It's
before.
a test that they do to, it's like a risk.
Grade it.
Yeah, it's a grade, like what your risk of reoccurrence is.
Okay.
So it's a scale, and at a certain percentage, I think it's like 16 or 14.
Yeah, I mean, I was
There was some number they
use
use
so
that says if you're at this number, chemo is recommended. They're not telling you have to have chemo because there's people that actually
Refuse it.
refuse it.
Yeah.
yeah.
And some
That's true.
people's onco scores are way high. Now, in my case, the first time, in Becky's case, they don't even do the onco score. If you have if you're HER2 positive, you automatically
just
get
go,
chemo.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had.
So I didn't do chemo, and I just did the double mastectomy, and then I went on tamoxifen, which didn't work out for me. So I ended up.
And what is tamoxifen? Is that is it an infusion?
It's a pill, and it basically blocks the estrogen somehow.
Okay.
From, I guess, tells your brain to block the estrogen. I don't know. It wasn't my friend. I didn't like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It made me crazy.
When young women have, if you're
Menopause.
premenopausal, they put you on tamoxifen, but it throws you into menopause.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like not necessarily all the way into menopause.
Right.
So like you're in like this quasi like limbo where like maybe you're still gonna get a cycle or maybe you're not gonna get a cycle, but then you're having like hot flashes and like rashes and leg cramps and
did they?
I had rage. Really
And a lot
bad.
of
I have that every day of my life. It's just I am.
I mean, it was bad. Like it was like I would drive in my car and I would literally lose my mind.
Yeah. Is there any urging for you to have hysterectomies, or is there any kind of correlation that because that changes your hormones?
I mean, oncology never said that to me.
Okay.
I will say that. No one ever, my gynecologist separately did
Suggested
suggest
it?
that.
Okay.
And I had already been in the position where, terrible maybe to say this now, but like I've already had enough taken from me.
Sure.
I've had time that I can't get back with my kids because I had a 3-year-old and 5-year-old, and I have, to worry about this, I guess, for the rest of my life, even though I was good.
Yeah.
There was not the chances of me having a reoccurrence were 7%. So we'll go now to this. Fast forward to December of 2020, I found a lump in the back of my neck. And I went and they basically said, like, that's a really odd spot. Like, we don't think it is anything, but we're going to do everything that we possibly can.
Based on your history.
Yes. We're going to scan you. We're going to do everything we possibly can. So I went in, I had a scan, and they were like, oh, God, it looks like you might have thyroid cancer. Like, oh, that's a weird double whammy. So then they biopsied to find out that it was metastatic breast cancer. It had metastasized to my thyroid, which is a very weird and rare occurrence. So that was January 25th of 2021 that I got that result. And then a week later, I had a bone scan. And at that point, they had realized that it metastasized to my hips, my spine, my chest bone.
Any pain?
No, not really. I mean, I will tell you that November, I just said this to Becky. She was at my house recently and looking at a picture that's up above my fireplace. And she's like, such a great picture. And I was like, that was like the calm before the storm. I had scans in October of 2020, just my normal annual scans, and they were clear. So 3 months later, it had spread. And I, like, you know what I mean? I felt so good.
That is so terrifying.
Looking at that picture, I didn't even know I was sick.
My sister's bone met spread.
Yeah.
I said I didn't know I was rotting from the inside. That's actually what I said to her because I'm a little bit terrible. But
listen, you can deal with it however you need to deal with it. That would be what I would say too.
Yeah, right.
As we learned, we're pretty similar in that.
Yeah.
So you have daughters?
I have one daughter.
And
3 sisters.
Any of them? No?
Nope. I did the genetic testing back in 2013, and there was nothing there. It was just.
So that's actually a good segue into
luck of the draw.
Men get breast cancer too.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
So a lot of people they like say daughters and sisters and
it needs
brothers
to be brothers and sons.
If you're positive for the gene, your brothers
Could be
get breast.
passing
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
And your brothers could have the gene and pass it to their daughters
Right.
and not actually get breast cancer themselves.
Right.
Which
Unbelievable.
is a friend of mine. She was in her mid-20s. Her aunt had breast cancer. She got tested. Her dad got tested. Her dad carried the gene, but he didn't have breast cancer. She tested positive. Her sister tested negative. So she had a prophylactic mastectomy at 26.
That's what Angelina Jolie had too, right? She had a double mastectomy and a full hysterectomy because her mother
Yeah.
had,
Then she
Right.
carried the gene.
and she carried the gene.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think sometimes when you have these, I mean, you know families where there's two siblings that have breast cancer or
Right.
had breast cancer. Me,
Right.
we have other friends
Right.
that are in a similar situation.
Right.
We didn't test positive for the gene. I think it's just a gene they don't know about yet.
Yeah.
It's just they
Yeah. I
haven't
mean, that's why,
discovered-
and I think that's why
or it's environmental.
there's still such a push for
Or it's
research,
environmental.
and it will it will be forever progressing and forever changing. What is that moment like when you're told that you have breast cancer? What's the first thing that goes through your brain?
The first time it was like an out of body experience. I can remember.
Because you never think it's going to happen to you, right? You
and I
always
can
think it's
remember
going to be
that
somebody
I was
else.
standing in the hallway at work, like in the stairwell, and a friend of mine worked with me. So when I didn't come right back in, when she
Yeah.
saw me race out and I didn't come right back in, she came out and she was standing there listening. And then I hung up the phone. She was like, "Are you okay?" And I remember just being like, "I think we need to call back because I'm really not sure what just happened."
Right,
And
right.
she was like, "Okay, call back and put it on speaker and I'll listen."
Mhm.
And I did. I called back
Yeah.
and I was like, "Can I talk to?" At that time, it was Dr. Frazier.
I have to imagine
Um,
that happens to them regularly.
Yeah, and I did. I called back and I was like, I don't know what's happening. And then we talked through it again. And then, it was, don't be scared. This is what we're going to do. And everything moved very quickly at the first time for
Yeah.
me. So it was like, bam, bam, bam. Like,
I'm noticing that one of my, somebody very close to me was just diagnosed last week. And the minute she got the news, she actually got the news sitting in my office. And she had an appointment for the next day, immediately. Like it's moved very, very quickly, which I think kudos to the hospitals, the doctors that are because I can't imagine that mindset of getting this information and then you have to wait
Yeah, and sit on it.
and
wait,
sit on it,
right?
right? Because
yeah.
I mean, and then so when how quickly after you get the news are you telling your husband and your family? And
The first time it was pretty, I guess, I mean, I went home and like I, kind of figured out my own way to maybe deal with it. But I guess in the next couple of days, the second time I was picking up Girl Scout cookies for my daughter and the doctor called and I literally said to the woman, like, "Excuse me, I need to like take this call." And I drove down the street and I didn't come back for 45 minutes.
Okay.
When I came back 45 minutes later, she was like, "What happened?" And I was like, "I have stage 4 metastatic breast cancer." And she was like, "What?" And I was like, I don't know if I can take these.
so, okay, I have a question about
I
that.
can't carry this load right now.
Yeah.
These cookies. I have
Yeah.
to go home.
Now, see, I still would have taken it, just so we're clear.
Self-care.
I would have been like, look, I got stage 4 breast cancer. I'm going to eat all these cookies. These were for other people, but now they're for me.
No matter for me.
What, so you had a mastectomy.
Double. Yep.
Double.
Mhm.
But still.
So that's the thing we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was some cell like just waiting and
Yep.
just
3 years shy
sleeping.
of 10 years.
It's sneaky. It's a sneaky disease.
Yeah.
Feeling my best.
Yeah,
feeling
yeah.
like I could conquer the world.
So when you get that, are you pissed? Are you sad? Are you, what was your go-to emotion?
I think at that point when she said
Terrified.
stage 4
Metastatic.
metastatic, my first question, she just
Because when you
blurted
hear
out.
that word, when you
I-
hear metastatic, I'm going to have this for the rest
I
of
didn't really, and that's the other ignorance. I kind of moved past the first time.
Okay.
I thought like there's a 7% chance. I did what I was supposed to do. I've taken all the medication.
Yeah.
I shut down my ovaries. I am very, I go to all my appointments. This is not going to come back. Like I am. So then to get that next punch,
Yeah.
the first thing I said to her is, "Am I going to die?" And she said, "Not if I can have a say in it."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay." And since that moment, she is, and I said this to you last week. The woman is like she's
your
who I want.
oncologist?
Yes, she is like who I'd want to be at any battle that I ever have to have, because she's always got me.
That's
like,
huge.
In her,
I think that's huge.
She carries me. She tells me that all the time. Because my situation was so rare, she carries me in her bag to like all of the meetings and stuff like that, because she's like, it's just none of it makes sense. So we kind of use you as like a guinea pig. The first time, I'll tell you, that I spent about 6 months racking my brain of how did I get here? How did this happen to me? I breastfed my children. I took birth control. Like, I did all of these things. And the surgeon from Bryn Mawr said to me, "Krista, if you continue to do this, you are going to make yourself absolutely crazy.
Sure.
Like, just move on." And that day I was like, okay, fine. I don't care how I got it or how I got here. I just need it to go away.
What was your go-to emotion when you got the...
Well, I read it on my chart, like I said before.
So you were by yourself?
Yes. And my husband and kids were all at school.
Pardon
and
me.
I remember checking my chart and seeing those words, and I thought, okay. But even all the way up until then, needing the biopsy, I thought, well, this is just going to come back. I know so many friends who have had biopsies and they're fine. I didn't really know. I didn't have anyone in my life close to me who had gone through breast cancer.
Right.
And I just figured, well, it's not in my family. This is going to come back, nothing. And so when the results came back, I called a friend of mine who's a nurse, and I said, so this is cancer, right? And she said, yeah, I didn't work in oncology, but, I knew my surgeon was in surgery that day for the whole day. So I knew I wouldn't hear from him possibly till the day after. He called me that night, asked me to put him on speakerphone and have my husband sit down with me. And he just went over everything. He said, we're going to get you in tomorrow. I'm going to be down in the city, but I'll meet you in the parking lot. If I'm not there, just wait for me. Like,
wow.
He was amazing. Gave us his cell phone number and was very available to us for all the questions.
I think that makes a huge difference too, right?
Yeah. But we told our girls, I was ready to tell my girls before I even got the MRI results back. Like, we knew there was something. We knew there was cancer. And I was ready to tell them because I felt like they knew I was going to all these appointments. I was missing work. Something was going on. And I felt like them seeing Matt and me whispering and talking about it has to feel scarier.
Sure.
And I remember not using the word cancer for a while. And a friend of mine, Vanessa, who was diagnosed around the same time, and my oncologist and my nurse navigator all said they encouraged me to use the word with my kids. My girls were 14, 13, and 10.
Right.
And my friend Vanessa explained that if they hear the word, they're going to automatically be terrified. And you want to be the one who can explain to them what's going on with you. You want to be there when they hear that word. My oncologist said to me, you're going to show your kids what cancer is. They know the word is scary.
Right. But they're going to see it. It's going to become tangible for them.
And he said, you're going to show them that you're going to be fine. And I told you, he kept saying that. This is all you need to tell your girls. And I really think that helped me believe that it was true.
Yeah.
So I remember my sister asked me early on if I was scared. And the only time I felt scared was when I thought about leaving my girls. And that's when I would just be heartbroken, crying. And so I had to stop myself from going down that because it's too hard.
Yeah.
That would just be unbearable. So
what was your go-to emotion then? Was it just the worry over your children? Did you get mad?
No, I don't think I did. I felt like we're going to get through this.
Okay.
I just kept feeling like, okay, a year, that's,
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it has been the longest year
of your life.
my life.
I bet. Now, you lost your hair.
I did.
But you did a whole thing, right?
So it started falling out, and my oncologist at one of my appointments said, what are we going to do about your hair? Because my hair was long down the middle of my back. And I said, well, I think I'm going to cut it, and then I'll have my girls help me shave it or whatever. And he said, yep, do that. Take control. This is something that you can have control over.
I think that's very empowering, too. And I think it's a great thing for your daughters to see,
Yeah.
because whatever the outcome ends up being, they'll remember their mom as being in control of her own,
Yeah. I mean, it
diagnosis.
was actually a lot of fun. We went out on the deck. My husband was out there. We had his clippers, and I mean, my daughter wanted me to start with a mullet. I think I told you this story, and I was.
Oh, I would have totally done like rainbow.
Well, then we went with a mohawk, and they styled it, and they were taking pictures and videos the whole time.
Yeah.
And my husband wanted me to keep the mohawk, and I was like, I drive a minivan.
Yeah.
I
I can't pull this
but who
off.
cares? But so we went bald, and it was so refreshing, and it was like something I didn't even have to worry about anymore, because up until then it was coming out, and
Yeah.
I mean,
It's-
like
you don't
you
want it
brush
on
your hair and your hair
pillow
falls
in
out.
the
Right,
shower
right.
and
Oh,
So did you
yeah.
lose your hair also?
Twice.
Twice.
And you didn't.
I did not, because I never did chemo. Even still, I haven't done chemo.
But one of the things that you had said to me last week is, and I want to get into this a little bit more, like the things that people say to you, but I remember you saying, somebody was like, oh, you didn't lose your hair.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, you look great for what you're going through.
yeah.
You don't look sick.
Yeah,
You
you
don't
don't
look sick. Yeah.
Like,
So,
okay, well.
what was your first round? What was your go-to emotion? Because you're a pretty even human being.
I knew before they told me. I knew in like
Of course you did.
I knew in like
You knew
September.
when they said come back in 6 months, you're like, I'm going to come
I
back
knew
in
in
6 months.
September.
and
I
it's gonna
I
be-
remember vividly telling one of my bosses, someone needs to learn my job, and she said, why? And I said, because I just, if something happens to me, somebody's going to need to know how to do my job if I'm out. And she said, why? And is there something going on? I said, I just have some tests coming up. And so I knew. I didn't cry. I didn't cry the first or the second time.
Did Jimmy?
Not in front of me. He definitely cried, but not in front of me. The weird thing the first time I had cancer was not my family, but a lot of our friends tried to act like there was like nothing wrong. They want to act as normal as possible, and no one was reacting to the fact that I had cancer. And
What's that do to your psyche?
I said to my husband one day, I said, I didn't stub my toe. Like, why is everybody acting like nothing's wrong?
Right.
And then one of my girlfriends said, oh, it's very different when you walk out of the room. I'm like, okay.
But they didn't want to show you that, right?
So this is what I always tell people, and I told people this before I got diagnosed with cancer, because my father had colon cancer many, many, many years ago. Let the person decide how, if they don't want to talk about it, don't talk about it.
It's your story. Let you
Right.
write that
My dad
narrative.
used to always say to me, the only wrong thing to say is nothing. And that goes with not just
With anything,
That's
yeah.
with anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't know what to say, just say, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Or, I'm sorry, I'm
at a loss.
I have no
Yeah.
words. That's better than not saying it.
Right.
So
Because you're still affirming that this person is going
you're
through
acknowledging it.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Even
may
like, I
not-
don't know what I can do for you, just know I'm
Yes.
sending you all the love.
Yeah.
Know that I'm
Yeah.
thinking of you.
The second time I went for my mammogram, I got a phone call within a couple hours from the breast care navigator. And as soon as I saw her name come up, I was like, she goes, you need to prepare yourself. I said, you're calling me about my mammogram, aren't you? And she said, yeah. And I said, oh, now what? She said, well, you have a biopsy scheduled on Thursday morning. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, you need to prepare yourself. I'm like, prepare myself for what? Like, worrying about it's not going to change anything.
Was she the same nurse navigator the first time?
Mm.
The second time?
Yeah.
She,
And
so
she's
she
actually-
knew that you had already gone through it.
Yeah,
one
yeah.
time.
And she's a good
Okay.
friend.
Right. Okay. I just
So-
didn't know if she was new.
So does the nurse navigator help you scheduling all of your
Oh, yeah.
appointments?
Yeah.
And do they offer a level of consolation to
Yeah.
you? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like your concierge.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think
for
I
a
made
really
any,
shitty
yeah.
situation.
Yeah, I don't think I made any of my own appointments.
No,
Okay.
I
She
didn't
would
do
just
anything.
email me or
Yep.
text me or call me and leave me a message.
Well, you actually said to me about our mutual friend that just got diagnosed. Let her process it and feel how she wants, because I'm a little bit of a control freak. and she wasn't reacting the way I needed her to react.
And what did I say to you?
Leave her. You actually said, let her process it and feel however
Yes, I
she
told her,
wants.
if you want to be sad, be sad. If you want to be pissed off, be pissed off. If you want to just get to work and heal, do that. It's harder on you and her family than it is.
Right, because her daughter
She's
and I
okay.
were sobbing.
Yeah.
Her daughter came in. We're in my office. We're sobbing. And then we came out here and did a shot of tequila because
Why
Why
not?
who doesn't do that?
So, but why were you crying? I'm asking that
Yeah.
as a person who's on the opposite side.
Why was I crying, right?
Right, not because you shouldn't, but like what was your thought and your feeling at that moment?
That's a good
I was
question.
scared.
You were scared for her.
I was scared for her. I was crying because her daughter was crying.
Mhm.
And these are people that are incredibly close to me.
Mhm.
And
Was there an I want to fix it?
no, there's always an
Yeah.
I want to fix it.
Yeah.
That's my personality. Yeah, that's my personality. I'm like, oh, you have a problem? Tell me what it is. I'll take care of
That's
it.
your personality.
Yeah, what do you need? Like I'm already like, okay, the daughter's having surgery this week. I'm like, all right, I will take you
Yeah.
and your dad can save his days and,
Yeah.
just you go into troubleshooting mode.
Yeah.
And you know what? At some point, she really will need that.
Yes.
Like, you need someone to say,
Not-
I'll do those rides and I'll do that.
Right, but not right now.
Yeah.
Right. And okay, so let's talk about that. One of the things we also talked about is, the things that people offer. And who was it? One of you said, the meal train, while it's a great idea,
That might have been me. And I always feel so terrible.
listen, it's not.
You know,
Let me explain something.
None of us need a
People-
casserole for 25 people that's going to go in the freezer and then thrown away in
Let's
6
be honest,
months.
you get bombarded
Yes.
for like
Yeah.
the first month or
You
6
can eat
weeks.
so much baked ziti. Just
And
And
then-
I think it's because people don't know.
They don't know what to
they
do.
should
And I'll say, this
Just
is
wanna
not,
do something.
yes, this is
Yeah.
not to compare,
Mhm.
but I think when somebody is experiencing something tragic, no matter what it is,
Death. Yeah.
a death,
Sickness,
an
whatever.
illness,
Yeah.
a house fire,
Mm.
people go to the first thing that they think is going to be comfort.
Mhm.
So, we lost our home in a fire. It'll be 2 years in August. We lived in a hotel. People just started bombarding us with clothes and things.
Yeah,
And
but you had no
I'm
place
like,
to
I
I'm
don't
in a
have,
hotel
I'm
room.
in a hotel room. There's
Right.
4 of us and 2 dogs.
They're comfort
Yes.
items.
And food. And I'm like, that's great.
I don't have a kitchen.
But I didn't have a kitchen. I had a refrigerator that was like a college freezer. But again, it's not the intent.
Right.
Their intent is they're trying to be helpful.
Mhm.
So, this is sort of a segue into what we're doing on Wednesdays for the next couple of weeks are these hopeful
healing bag.
Thank you. I named it and I don't even know what the hell I called it.
Too many
Hopeful-
acronyms. Or too many.
And I
Too
love
many
that.
H's.
I love the
Hopeful
flow of that,
healing
but then I
bags.
can't remember shit.
Yeah.
The hopeful healing bags, right? So I said to you, what are some things that we want to put in these bags and and even while we were sitting and decorating the bags, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, what mantras were helpful for you? And there was a resounding cancer.
Yes.
But we decided not to put that on the bags because they're going to go to different cancer centers.
It might be
And
offensive.
some people might be
Might be a
offended.
child.
Might be a child, whatever.
Yes.
It might be a sister.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, what were some positive affirmations that you would hear? Because we also talked about, did you automatically hate pink or love pink?
Hate pink.
And you still do.
I still hate pink.
Did you always?
I don't know that I even.
You never
thought
gave it
about
a thought.
Nope.
How about you?
Yeah, I don't think I really mind it one way or the other.
Okay.
But now I definitely have been using the pink heart emoji more than I ever have
Okay.
in the past year.
And how about you?
I never owned a thing that was pink, and the first thing I did when I got diagnosed the first time was go buy a pair of pink sweatpants to wear because I didn't
For
have
what reason?
because I needed sweatpants to wear the day I had my surgery.
And were you gravitating towards pink for any reason? Did it give you
So-
some semblance of comfort? And I ask that because, there's symbols for everything, right?
Right.
Mhm.
So
And we've talked before in our case, Jacob identifies with the puzzle piece
Okay.
for autism, but there's a lot of self-advocates within the autism community that hate the puzzle piece, and they feel that it represents that they're missing something.
Right.
Whatever, feel how you want to feel. My son sees it and thinks this is a safe place for me.
So
Recognize
in
it.
October, there's pink everywhere. Everywhere. There's mops that have a pink ribbon on it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and while you need to proceed with caution when you give your money to organizations that say they're helping, like where's the money going?
Correct.
So that's one side of it, but if you see somebody that has on a pink shirt with a pink ribbon on it, they're wearing it because their mom had breast cancer, their grandmother, or they're wearing it for you. So it's like
It's like a little
It's a
acknowledgement
solidarity.
from the
Yeah,
citizens.
no, I agree.
It's like an international symbol, and you know that means breast cancer. And I've had people come up and like actually comment and want to know, did I have breast cancer myself, or do I know somebody? That's how I end up talking to people, because they'll come up and ask.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Now, when I say I don't like pink, I think the pink is like, I don't like pink.
Sure.
I don't want to wear pink. I don't want to wear a pink ribbon, which I think I sometimes do have it on certain bags. But because I already wear my scars every day, I don't need
A label.
a label.
Yeah.
But my daughter's softball team, her travel softball team, I was looking at it over the weekend and I was thinking to myself, every single one of those girls has a pink ribbon on their helmet. And they only have it because of me.
Right.
But they all wear it to every single game. They wore pink socks in October and they presented me with like this cute little poster board, and it was great.
Yeah, that's
and
a
I was like, I
beautiful
love
thing.
this. I love that you have the ribbon. I love
the
that
solidarity.
you're supporting it. I love it. But don't give me anything pink because I
Right.
don't want
Sure.
to
I get that.
like wear it. You know what I mean? That
I think that,
it's like
follows
the
suit.
support.
It is. Like people will say, oh, do you watch The Good Doctor? Do you watch whatever, whatever, Atypical? And I'm like, no, I live with autism with my kid. I don't need to watch it on Netflix.
Right.
Forget it. Right? You know what I mean? Like that's, but again, it's somebody else's attempt to try to understand, right? What was one of the things that I found both shocking but also kind of funny was the shit that people would say to you. So my favorite is that somebody told you that you needed to do something to your eyebrows or something.
Oh, that was yeah. Well,
Because your hair has grown back,
yeah,
but not your eyebrows.
not my eyebrows. So
And you don't paint them on because why?
Because I don't wear makeup.
Right.
So I was out to
Because you're naturally beautiful.
Sadly, I was out to it was a happy time then, but we were out to breakfast. It was 3 of us, and it was 2 women that had metastatic breast cancer, and sadly both of them have passed. But the one said to me, we were talking about eyebrows, I guess. I don't know. And she looked at me and she goes, you can get your eyebrows done.
And she had cancer herself.
She had metastatic breast cancer.
Okay.
Yeah. And I said,
get them done, like meaning threaded or tattooed
Or like
just
probably
like
tattoos.
removing
Yeah.
hair.
she goes, you would look so much better.
Oh, God.
And I went, I'm okay with the way I look.
Yeah.
I don't want to get my eyebrows done.
And that came from somebody who is experienced.
But
Okay.
it didn't come from a place, like she wasn't trying to be mean.
No.
She just didn't understand why I didn't want to have nice eyebrows.
because she wanted and
'Cause she
needed
wanted
nice
them.
eyebrows,
Everybody's different.
Right. I mean,
So-
there's people that get reconstruction. There's people that want nipples. Some don't.
Someone tattoos.
Someone tattoos. I mean, it's a personal preference, and I don't
Right.
think that it should be
judged.
No. Mine
That's
should
why
be
I never
business.
wanted a mastectomy. I never wanted a mastectomy because you would have to make too many decisions.
It
I
was
can't.
a lot.
I couldn't even.
But you had one.
I couldn't make decisions on like remodeling my bathroom. I thought,
Right.
how am I going to pick the size and kind of surgery?
Oh, you
It's
didn't
just
want
too-
reconstruction.
No, I just didn't want to make the decision, so I didn't
Okay.
want a mastectomy. But then I ended up having one. And the plastic surgeon, every single time I went, she goes, "Are you sure you don't want nipples?" I said, "I don't want nipples." My husband said, "No more surgery." she said, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Don't ask again." She goes, "What about tattoos?" I'm like, "No, I don't need them. I really don't. I'm good."
But what's great is I think a
thank you
lot
for
of the
offering.
offices are providing them now, rather than having you go pay. I think a
Yeah.
lot of the offices are providing
The
those
great thing
services
is
instead of
that
having to go to
I
a
feel
plastic
cold.
surgeon.
I never look cold.
That's true.
So you had reconstruction with
Yes.
your own tissue. So that was the
So,
other thing
yeah,
that I
they-
found
They took my
wildly.
tissue from. I'm having an incision from hip to hip. It was
Okay.
like having a C-section, I guess. And
Yeah.
They take the fat and move it up.
How long
It
ago
was
was
more-
that you had the?
Had that?
Yes.
2019.
Okay.
And you had reconstruction?
So I had reconstruction the first time. I had expanders the first time and quit halfway because.
So expanders, they put expanders in before
Yeah.
they put in
Yes,
implants.
before they
And
put
that's
in-
to stretch
and
the
they-
skin.
and
To
they-
stretch your skin, yeah.
They inject you with silicone or some saline
Saline.
to stretch out the expander. I quit because it was just too much.
Painful.
And
It's painful.
I
again,
bet.
I had a 3-year-old and I was like, this is stupid. I can't pick her up. I can't do anything. I want to go to the shore over the summer and get
Yeah.
a pool and do all of these things. So I quit. I just had mine taken out and new ones put in because it's been 10 years
Okay.
last year. And that's when they put the implants in. But then they also took from my sides, they
Mhm.
just extracted fat, I guess, or tissue. I don't know what it is. And then they injected it in with the implants to make it look a little bit more real.
Natural.
Because, like I said, I'm willing to be a donor. I will donate all of my fat to give you the best rack you've ever seen. I am that kind of a
And they take
giving
it from all
person.
kinds of different places.
They
too.
do.
Yeah.
But did they take it from other people?
No, but they
No.
some women have
Damn
it.
it!
Deep
Sorry.
flap. It's called DIEP
Mhm.
from the hip to hip.
Is that your
Across
smile?
whole
Like
abdomen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they did. They
And then
incorporated-
they move your belly button, and they didn't tell me about that. So I was
Right, you
That
woke up
probably
like a
pretty
freaked you
upset.
out, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I was like, what?
That would. Yikes.
And I was like loopy because I had just come out of
Right.
anesthesia.
Yeah.
But my friend had it done, and they took it from her back, so they pulled the fat
Fat
around
Yeah,
from her
yeah.
back. So it's
It's like
create
liposuction is what they say. They
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
so that's what they did. They stuck it in the sides here, and they
That's
just
amazing.
Fat
pulled
grafting
out,
and
yeah,
Yeah.
and then they.
So there's all kinds of
Injected it
different
in,
kinds
yeah.
of surgery they can do.
It's
I
not-
wasn't a
none of
candidate
it's
for
fun.
implants. That's why I had
Okay.
the surgery I had because I had radiation in
Oh.
2013, and they were concerned about.
Yeah, the
The
skin and
skin.
the yeah.
So
I think they won't do implants if you're supposed to have radiation after your surgery. I think they'll do. what do
And
they
it
do
just
in that
depends.
point?
That's the other thing. The order of surgery,
Mhm,
chemo, and radiation could be different for every
That's
single
true.
person you talk
yeah,
to.
Yeah.
yeah.
Some people have chemo first. Some people have.
Mhm. Surgery
Surgery
first,
first.
and then chemo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it all depends on the type and the stage
And the size of the tumor
size of the
and where
tumor.
the tumor is.
Yeah.
And, if the tumor's really large, sometimes they do chemo specifically
it.
to shrink the tumor. So
If
it's
they
just
think they
it's
can
just
get it out with
different
just
in
the
every.
surgery, or
Okay.
it's
The other
very-
thing is you'll hear people say, I didn't have any lymph node involvement, so I'm good. I don't have to have chemo. Well, that's not always.
Mm-mm.
I didn't have lymph node
We
involvement
met
either.
somebody in
I
here
didn't-
that said that,
I
right?
didn't have lymph node involvement, and I had chemo twice, and I didn't have any lymph node involvement.
And that's funny
Okay.
because I had lymph
So,
node.
but some people, there was some newscaster that talked about, if you don't have lymph node involvement, you don't have to have chemo. Well, that's not true. It's different for everybody. So you don't know what you don't know, and it's just we probably know way more than we
Yeah,
want to.
sure.
but-
I feel like you get a crash course, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So you all three utilize the services of Unite for Her. And the next podcast that we're going to do this afternoon is actually with a representative from Unite for Her. And Unite for Her is one of the two organizations that our She4 Festival is in support of. So the last 3 years, it's been exclusively the Laurel House, which if anybody's been here knows that they work with domestic violence survivors, and they help with placement, home placement, and therapy services and supplies, because a lot of these women are fleeing their homes in the middle of the night, and perhaps men too. Unite for Her, we added into our repertoire this year because of Betty. Betty brought them to my attention, and she does a lot of work with them, and I value where she sends her dollars and her time. And, because you have to be careful, right? We've talked about this before. There's a lot of charities that can sometimes be misrepresented, or you're not sure where the money goes. Unite for Her, and we'll talk about that, but how have you benefited from the program? Aside from the services, what have you've met women?
So I went in 2014 and I got invited to this wellness day. And I said, well, what is it? And they said, well, you're going to learn about nutrition and you're going to learn about all the different kinds of therapies that are available. And I was like, I know how to eat. I mean, I don't look like I'm eat healthy, but I try.
I know what I'm supposed to be doing.
So I didn't really want to go, but I went anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the women that I connected with at that wellness day, I am still friends with too.
That's
today.
huge.
So I don't know. It just, the wellness day is just one thing. They provide $2,000 worth of services. They provide you
and those
this
services,
beautiful box of a gift, a box of like stuff.
And it's called a wellness passport, right?
Yeah.
So there's a passport in this box. You get a box.
A care box.
A care box. It used to be in person, and you would go to the hospital that you were being treated at, and there would be 45 women in a room, and they'd talk about nutrition, they'd talk about Reiki, massage, acupuncture.
And what is the time frame that you have to use this passport?
So you have to, for
because each of you are in a different stage of it, right?
So local breast cancer, it's any kind of breast cancer not outside of being metastatic, you have to have been diagnosed within 18 months.
Okay.
There's different programs. There's a local program, local breast. There's also national breast.
Okay.
There's metastatic. There's national metastatic. They also provide services for women going through ovarian. They also provide services for men going through breast cancer. And there's ovarian and reoccurring ovarian. So every passport's different.
Okay.
So
a
lot of the funding for local is done through the hospital partners.
So where are you in your relationship with them? Do you get their services still?
No, I got their services in 2014 and then again in 2019 because I was within 18 months of being diagnosed. If you're metastatic, your passport never expires. So you have a year. I think it's a year. You have a year to use your passport.
Yeah, and then after that you call.
Yeah.
Right.
Now the metastatic women, they can just renew it every 6 months.
You can let them know that you want to renew it.
What for you was the most helpful?
There's a program in Lancaster called Lancaster Farm Fresh. It's a co-op. And when I went through it in 2014, I would go pick up my vegetables every week. So I got vegetables for, I don't even remember how many weeks it was at that point. Fresh organic vegetables every week. A big box.
Yeah.
A big box.
Huge. Huge. It was a huge box.
I tried stuff I never even heard of. Romanesco.
You look up new recipes.
Cauliflower and, all kinds of stuff that I never had before. And I continued with using, I did Lancaster Farm Fresh after Unite for Her stopped paying for it.
Okay.
And then I became a host when I worked at Pfizer, and I used to have Lancaster Farm Fresh come there.
Oh, nice.
So we did that for several years. I used massage. The day before I would go for my chemo, I would go to the chiropractor, then I would have chemo, and then 2 days later I would go for a massage.
Now, didn't we talk about massage last week? And you guys both said you had them, but you said stay away from your back.
I did because
You did.
I have
because
I have it in my spine. So
it's
sometimes it
painful.
hurts. Sometimes it hurts. I did the same thing. I did the Farm Fresh thing for the first time, and acupuncture, which I totally hated.
Really?
I did, but I did it anyway because everyone said that it would be so helpful. But after like 4, I was like, I can't do this anymore.
You didn't find it helpful.
No, I think it made me like nervous, so it made me like I didn't get that relaxing feeling. And then this next time I did massage therapy and Reiki. And
how about you, Brian?
I have used the CSA,
Which is what?
the
vegetables.
agriculture, sorry, community supported, anyway. And then when I first started coming here, and Betty asked me, what do you use your passport for? And I was so ashamed of myself because I only used on my passport, I have 10, what do they call it? Just squares.
Squares on your passport.
Yeah.
And I only used 2 for the farm share last spring.
Okay.
And she said, well, you've really got to use it because these services, they're provided because they know that women need them. And if we don't use them, so I went back and I found my passport and I have 8 squares left to use up and it expires March 31st of this year.
Okay.
So I call up the woman who's in charge of the nutrition. She was lovely. She said, sign up for the next CSA. Even if it doesn't start until after, as long as you're signed up for it, use it. And then she said, here, try this, something called Farm Box, which is, and it happens to back up. I'll get Farm Box for like 4 to 6 weeks. And then when that's done, my farm share will start.
That's amazing.
So I'm getting all this. And then also gift cards for grocery stores, Wegmans, Aldi.
That's
$75 gift card for
there
one,
was the other
for
thing
one
that I
square.
did do was the cooking. Like there was a class that you could take with Katie, and she did several different dishes that she could
using the supplies that are
things that are good for you, things
I
that
did
you
that
should and it was one of those things where I was like, I could totally do this. Like she's so good.
That was 10 years ago. It's different. The programs they do the similar something. They do a lot of stuff through Zoom now.
Yeah.
But Katie Cavuto went grocery shopping with me, and we walked around and we read labels. I haven't eaten a regular jar of peanut butter since then. I use natural peanut butter.
Okay.
I don't eat yogurt that has anything in it. I always eat plain Greek yogurt. When the first time I ever ate it, I thought I was eating sour cream.
Yeah. That's what you said.
It was like small
honey in it, though.
Changes.
Yeah.
And then she came to my house and we cooked like 6 different things. So she spent the afternoon with me.
That's
cooking
amazing.
at my house. Now they do a lot of stuff virtually now.
We need to kind of bring it full circle. So I want to ask just a couple more things collectively. What do you want women that have not been diligent about getting their mammograms to know?
As cliche as it sounds, early detection saves lives. And people just like roll their eyes at you, like, please, like Susan G. Komen. Early detection saves lives. It's a fact.
I 100% agree with that, and I'm a firm believer in just check yourself. You are in the shower alone. Nobody needs to know what you're doing. I say it to my 13-year-old. She's 13, but I do say to her, like, that is the most important thing you can do is just, if something doesn't feel right to you, ask.
Yeah.
And then don't let anybody ever tell you, hold on, wait a minute. I don't think it's that. Be your own advocate. Push, because there's rare cases. There's situations that they can't just look at you or touch you and know what they think sometimes they know.
And there are women that it's not time for them to get a mammogram. I don't even know what the age is now. What's the age?
35, 40?
I know a lot of women.
If you have
I know a lot of women that are under 30. So it happens, unfortunately.
Yeah. I know women who, I'm thinking of one friend in particular, who has not gotten a mammogram in years. And even with me being diagnosed last year, she still says, I know I have to go. I just am too scared to go. And I don't know why. I think she's just now that she knows someone who has gone. But I mean, so if there is something, they'll find it, and then you get started
and
on
they do
what
3D mammograms now. So if the likelihood of them finding something with a 3D mammogram is a lot greater than what it used to be.
But this is interesting to me. Okay, I'm a big advocate for getting mammograms. I get mine. I had to have mine redone because I have dense and fibrous breasts, and they were like, I don't know, might be a little something, but they did the second one. They said it was fine. But when you see on the news or you see it, stories of somebody like Olivia Munn, who, she's a celebrity, so her case is getting attention. But I think it's important, not because she's a celebrity, but because she did the DNA test and came up that that her and her sibling were fine. She had a mammogram and it was clean.
I had a mammogram and it was clean.
And then, it was something like 3 months later, she's diagnosed with breast cancer. So what do we say to women that say, well, why bother going to get it?
Well, I mean, it's like all of the ways to be able to find it, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've got your mammogram, and technology is always getting better.
Right.
And they know what they're doing. And then check yourself.
Yeah.
Or,
and in your case, your husband found
have
it.
your husband check it,
I don't think they would mind.
Whatever.
I mean, she said your mammogram's clear. I'm like, okay, but I feel this. So then do something else, because there's got to be another way that you can
I
see
think you
what
have
I'm
to be
feeling.
your
You
own
have to-
advocate.
absolutely.
And
You
that
have to be your
you
own
have to be your own advocate with your health in general.
Your
right?
whole life, you have to be your own advocate.
For
Also, my
everything.
kid's not for
And you have to be
everything.
your kid's advocate
Yes.
if you've got a child that is has some questions. What kind of encouragement can you give people that have recently been diagnosed or that are in a relationship with somebody that, whether it's a friend was diagnosed, their spouse, their mother, their sister?
Well, I have two friends who have recently one has been diagnosed for a second time. And this time she's doing a double mastectomy. She started chemo. She didn't do chemo the first time. And so immediately she messaged me and she said, I've been watching your, journey on Facebook and all that, and you're such an inspiration. And I remember when she was first diagnosed, and I didn't really know, I couldn't have told you like more than 5 people I knew of peripherally who had breast cancer.
Right.
And so we've been texting back and forth, and she had her first chemo. She has her second chemo today.
Okay.
Another friend who was recently diagnosed found out she's triple negative. She's obviously completely thrown for a loop and doesn't know what, but I just keep telling her, wait until you have a plan.
Right.
And you just have to keep telling yourself you'll be fine, because the medicine now, they know what they're doing. And what's the worst? Like, worst case scenario is worst case scenario either way.
Right.
So if you have the best, support group around you, mindset, it's not always.
How important is mindset?
Huge. I mean, it doesn't always work out.
Right.
So let's just, I always try to acknowledge that, because even some of the most positive people
end up
unfortunately
losing
don't make it. And
Sure.
but I can guarantee you, during that battle, they were champions. They
Yeah.
were definitely,
Yeah.
and I think that for me, in the beginning, the first time, I started to go down this slippery path, and my sister
Sure.
immediately was like, get your head out of your butt
Yeah.
and
You can say
figure
yes
it
on
out.
here.
You have 2 kids, and you're going to see them get married, and you're going to see them. And then the second time, I felt like I didn't need anybody. Once I started getting into it, I didn't need anybody to remind me that I had
How
so
badass
much more.
you are.
I can freaking do this. You don't, I can do this, and I will fight as hard as I have to. And I didn't have chemo, so I can never relate to that. But I had radiation, and
But that doesn't matter.
That doesn't make your cancer any less.
Yeah,
I love
I think
it.
that's
Still-
I think
it's
that's
still just
something.
terrifying.
Yeah, I think that's something too.
And then people
Like,
say,
I hate-
Oh, you didn't have
you
you didn't
just
have
had
chemo?
radiation.
You just had a lumpectomy.
radiation.
Just have you?
Yeah.
Radiation almost killed my brother-in-law.
Well, radiation.
Radiation's terrible.
It's
Yeah.
36 times you have to go the same time every day to the cancer center, undress, put a gown on, redress, get on a table, strip down naked from the waist up, have a viewing room of all kinds of people watching you. You have to look up and say, is that you? And it's a picture of you with no shirt on. And do that every day for 36 days, or however long you're going for radiation. And then get, some people get burned really bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not pleasant. So
No.
just radiation is
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
insulting.
But
Very
even
insulting.
if
Very
you
insulting.
don't do either radiation or chemo, if they
Yeah.
catch it and they put you on some type of what's the word? Like some type of medication
Well,
to
a hormone blocker
hormone-
or
whatever,
even
yeah.
not.
you still have the diagnosis.
Right.
There's still there is it is a life-changing
I
moment.
was just
Yes.
going to say that
Yes.
your whole life
Your
changes.
whole life changes.
You have pain that nobody knows that you have because you hide it. You have, fears. And I still say this. I always said to Becky, my favorite place to cry was in the shower
Yeah,
because nobody could see what I was feeling, and the shower wasn't judging me.
Absolutely.
And it was like, please bring on.
yeah, bring it on.
let me drown you in my water
That's
so
it.
you can just continue
That's
to
it.
cry. And that was like,
And sometimes you just have to cry. Like
Yes.
sometimes you have a meltdown, and you
Absolutely.
lose your shit. And
I have those
can't
daily
believe
too.
this. Yeah. Yeah.
But
you
everybody
have
has
to
a
lean
cross
on
to
You
bear.
have to lean on your village. I think it's really important to lean on the people.
Yeah,
who
that's
are
the other
there for
thing.
you.
So let's talk about that real
So-
quickly, and then we'll bring it to an end. Go ahead.
So when I got diagnosed the first time, I kept being encouraged to go to a support group and connect with other women with breast cancer. I didn't want any parts of that. I was just going to do this thing, and then I was going to move on. And I had a support system. I had a family and a lot of friends. And what I realized is they don't necessarily understand.
Yeah.
They're compassionate. They were helpful. They were there for me. You've witnessed this multiple times when you meet another person who's either going through cancer now or has had breast cancer or is in active treatment, how we connect.
Yeah, 100%.
There's like
There's some kind of
like
like
spiritual
it's-
thing
there is.
that
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
like
There is.
goes
I know what
between you.
you've
There's
gone
hard
like
to
through.
explain.
Yeah.
like
But
mine's not
it
the same,
happens.
but
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
thing. Knowing like your spouse can support you, your children can support you, your best friend, your sister, whatever. Who told me that they had a friend that was you? But you found comfort and solace or solidarity in these women who they didn't walk the same path. Their outcomes are different, but they get it.
They get it. They get
And
it.
that's incredibly, incredibly important. So if you are recently diagnosed, lean on the people that can share your pain. Your family's great, your friends are great, but you need to have that person. And that goes for, I think, anything, right? Like, my son was diagnosed 23 years ago, being on the spectrum. I wanted no part of being in support groups or parent group. I was like, no, thank you. I will figure it out myself. It is now when I'm like, I'm tired, right? That I can just say something to some of my other mom friends that have adult children that have a disability, and they're like, I get it. And I don't even have to get into it. They just knowing somebody else understands is like unbelievable feeling. So, we encourage you to reach out and make those connections. We all collectively encourage you to support Unite for Her.
Yes.
Some of the things that we're doing besides raising money at the She Festival is we're putting together these
hopeful healing bags.
The wine does not help on an empty stomach. The hopeful healing bags. And in there we put things like unscented lotion, unscented chapsticks.
Chapstick was the greatest thing.
Right, because
during
there's
treatment.
things that happen that you
And
don't
like
think
the
about.
mint
dry.
chapstick
Yes.
burns like your mouth that goes through sores
Tissues.
with chemo.
Tissues,
When you
because
go through
somebody
chemo.
said
Yes.
somebody was like a faucet. Was
Yeah,
it you?
that was not
my
me, that
friend's
was you, yeah.
mom
Yeah.
said,
Because you had no
got
eyelashes.
tissues because you lose your hair, which means you lose all of your hair.
In your nose
So
too.
you're just
So when
Who would
you're
think that?
yes, yeah,
yeah, you're
Like
just
just
perpetually
drips
have a
out like a
runny
faucet.
nose. Yeah,
That's
it's
yeah.
awful.
yeah.
So
Things
if
that you don't know that you need.
right.
And it doesn't matter what's in the bag. It's a
Somebody's
gift.
thinking
Somebody's
of you.
thinking of you, and some child or some adult children like us
Yeah.
drew pictures on these bags.
We are budding artists. Thank
Yes,
you very
I
much.
agree with
Yeah.
that.
Did no one see my son in house? And
I was impressed.
right. I mean, it's the same one I've been
Since
drawing.
second grade, right?
Yes, in second grade. Actually, I think it was kindergarten, but whatever. So, ladies, thank you so much for giving up your Tuesday afternoon and sharing your very raw and very real stories. I don't, we have, 5 viewers. So we'll see who this reaches.
We're going to change that.
But I think that it was an important conversation to have. as a woman, I now am going to be hyper vigilant about getting my mammograms and doing my checks because, I was diagnosed in 98 or 99 with cervical dysplasia. It was like stage 1 cervical cancer. They removed a portion of my cervix. I didn't have to have chemo or radiation, but it was that early detection because now people that have dysplasia that don't have it treated, it evolves into other types of reproductive cancer. So, you should always be hyper vigilant about your health and your screenings and stuff. So, but just the candor in which you guys spoke to me, we talked about your nipples on, it's going over the interwebs.
None of us have nipples.
None of
One,
you have
two,
nipples?
three.
You don't have nipples either?
No.
I do.
Scars.
I have nipples.
Only 2 nipples among the 8 of us.
Only 2. Oh, our boobs. I'm like, wait, I did have a glass of wine, but there's only 4 of us. Thank you guys. Please give a follow and a like to Unite for Her. Please look into the charity, volunteer your time. Please come to our She Festival, which supports Unite for Her and the Laurel House. Please participate in our Kindness Wednesdays. We do something different all the time, but for the next 3 weeks, it's all focused on these helpful healing bags.
And we have fun. And
And
sometimes
we
we
have fun.
dance.
Sometimes we dance. The kids come, the kids in our program come tomorrow. This will have already happened by the time this airs, but the transition kids from Upper Marion are coming. Norristown kids come back after the holiday. But listen, you're going to miss it, but for a good damn reason.
I know, but I want to
because
see my friend. Vicky,
You're doing
is
the
it
last.
Vicky coming with Upper Marion tomorrow? Who's coming tomorrow? Vicky Burke?
why are you asking me?
Oh, sorry.
Names.
Sorry.
I don't know. I
Way to
had
put her on-
wine.
Way to put her on the spot.
Sorry.
there.
I'm sorry.
Lord.
I'll check
More
back with you
importantly,
later.
Thank you.
I mean, let's talk about the coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I gotta tell you,
Amazing.
I'm so looking forward to my next cup of coffee. from
Coffee
Jake.
is good.
At Barista Jake.
At
Yeah.
Barista Jake's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I never plug my own crap during this podcast. And my board member sat with me for the last one and was like, could you maybe talk about the shit that we
Mention
do?
it.
And I'm like,
I mean, I'm dead serious. Today I was like, okay, I wonder if I'll have a cup of coffee today because I don't drink coffee ever.
Uh-huh.
I
You-
did not
you
drink
even-
the coffee
was
last week.
good, right?
I was like, this is so good, and it was an iced coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah,
More
he was
importantly,
good.
but
listen, he's
delicious.
good.
So
The
good.
kid is
Delicious.
good. He's a lot of things. Pain in the ass being one of them, but
Well,
makes
aren't
a
they all?
really good cup of
Let's
coffee.
be honest, they're
But,
all pain in the ass.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thanks.
We're very proud of you. Are you going to ring the bell?
They don't have a bell at my chemo suite. To
Okay.
be sensitive to other people who will never.
Who
get
will
to
never ring the bell?
We have a crystal dinner bell at our house that
Very
when I
nice.
get home we will ring.
Nice.
Just to that point, you weren't going to ring the bell because of so many friends that had metastatic that will never be able to ring the bell. But you had a friend
Beth Darcy.
who just passed.
No.
Oh, she didn't
No,
pass.
she didn't pass.
Beth's
Beth's the one that came here.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. She texted me the morning of my last chemo, and she goes, "Ring it loud and proud, because I'll never get to ring it."
I agree with that 100%.
Because you
So-
won't
Ring
get to
that.
ring
I
it.
want to hear it
But you
for
want
my
to hear
house
it for
tomorrow.
everybody else.
Like
Yeah.
ring that. Yeah.
Ring that
I'm
dinner bell.
dancing up your driveway
Okay,
with
that's
my
fine.
Ring
dinner
that
Do
dinner
that.
bell. All right, guys. Thank you so much,
Thank
ladies.
you.
All right. Take care, guys.